A quiet hospital night wrapped the corridors in dim shadows. In the pediatric wing of a private clinic, only one orderly was on duty, Audrey. Her title might have been modest, but she had medical training. She'd graduated from nursing school and even worked as a nurse for a couple of years. But after her son was born, life took a turn. She had to leave the hospital for a while, and when she came back, the only position available was as an orderly. Fate had pulled her down a step, but it hadn't taken away her knowledge, or her attention to detail. Near midnight, Audrey adjusted her coat and stepped into room 7. Inside was a special patient, 10-year-old Daniel, the son of a well-known billionaire. The boy had been on an 4-drip for 2 days, recovering from a severe case of poisoning under mysterious circumstances. A nurse had been sitting at his bedside, dozing off, but no doctors were nearby. They were only called in if his condition suddenly changed. Audrey gently tapped the nurse's shoulder. "Go get some rest, I'll stay with him," she whispered. The nurse gave her a grateful nod and quietly left. As the door clicked shut, Audrey was left alone with the boy and the steady beep of the monitor tracking his vitals. She moved over to the 4 stand and checked the drip rate. A plastic bag of nutrient solution hung overhead, feeding slowly into the boy's vein. Everything looked normal. But her instincts told her something was off. She'd noticed it the night before. Every time they switched the 4 bag, Daniel's condition seemed to get worse. During the day, the doctors brushed it off, saying it was just part of the illness, but Audrey wasn't convinced. The pattern was too clear. The moment the 4 stopped, Daniel looked better. But once a new one was hooked up, his face paled, his body weakened, and his heartbeat grew faint and erratic. She remembered seeing an unfamiliar doctor in a mask earlier, adding something to Daniel's 4 bag. When she asked what he was doing, he replied curtly that he was adding vitamins as per the attending physician's instructions. But when Audrey checked with the doctor himself, he just shrugged and said he hadn't ordered any vitamins. That moment had planted a seed of fear in her heart. Now, looking at the helpless boy, Audrey felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on her. If her suspicions were right, the 4 wasn't helping, it was harming him. Maybe someone's trying to hurt him, sabotage from his father's enemies, she thought with a shiver. People in the clinic whispered about the strange poisoning incident, hinting at foul play, though no one dared to say it out loud. Audrey bit her lip nervously. What could she do? She was just an orderly. Making an accusation like that wasn't something she could do lightly. She'd need proof. And even then, the consequences could be serious. But she couldn't stay silent either. She looked at the sleeping boy. For a moment, he reminded her of her own son. That one thought cleared away all hesitation. Her decision was made in an instant. Glancing at the door, Audrey reached out with a trembling hand and turned off the 4. The fluid stopped flowing into his vein. Daniel kept sleeping peacefully. His breathing was calm and steady. Audrey carefully closed the clamp on the 4 tube and detached it from the catheter, replacing it with a small cap filled with saline, a harmless, neutral solution they always kept nearby. Now, if anyone walked in, it would still look like the 4 was running. But nothing harmful was entering the boy's bloodstream. Audrey's heart pounded in her chest. She knew that if she was wrong, she'd just interfered with a patient's treatment, something that could get her into serious trouble. But deep inside, a quiet voice told her she was doing the right thing. The night dragged on painfully slow. A nurse came in a few times to check the equipment, but there were no alarms. Daniel's condition remained stable, if anything, it had slightly improved. His oxygen levels and heart rate were normal. Audrey noticed it with relief. Her intervention clearly hadn't done any harm. Just before dawn, she decided to take the next step. Carefully, she detached the 4 bag that had hung and used all night and tucked it away in the cabinet under the sink, replacing it with a fresh one from the supply. If the first bag really had poison or an extra drug in it, she needed to keep a sample. There were still a few hours left until morning. Audrey had made up her mind. Once the sun was up, she would go straight to the chief physician and tell him everything, bringing the old 4-bag as evidence. But just as she finished, the door to the room flew open. There stood the same masked doctor from the day before. Only now, without the mask, Audrey recognized him. He was a recently hired ICU specialist from another shift. He stared at her in surprise. "What are you doing here?" Watching over the boy, Audrey replied calmly, trying to hide the tension in her voice. The man walked over to the equipment and frowned. "Who told you to change the 4?" He had noticed the freshly connected bag. "The bag ran out. I replaced it with a new one," she lied, looking him straight in the eyes. His eyes flashed with anger, but he kept his expression neutral. "Next time, call someone from the medical staff. Don't touch anything on your own." "Of course." "I'm sorry," Audrey nodded. He checked the monitors and looked over the child. Once he was sure everything seemed fine, he turned to leave and muttered, "Let's just make it to morning rounds." When the door closed behind him, Audrey finally let out a breath. Her hands were trembling slightly from the stress. But now there was no doubt in her mind, that doctor wasn't who he pretended to be, and he was clearly upset that something had gone wrong. "No way," she thought. "I'm not letting you hurt this child." The first light of morning spilled through the blinds as the hospital slowly came to life. Footsteps echoed in the halls. A kettle switched on somewhere. After her long, tense night, Audrey pulled herself together and headed straight for the chief physician's office. She knew she had to report everything about Daniel's treatment, right away. They might not believe her, but waiting any longer was too risky. But just as she stepped out of the elevator onto the first floor, she froze at the unexpected scene unfolding outside. 3 black SUVs with tinted windows rolled silently up to the clinic like shadows. The doors opened almost in unison, and several men in dark suits stepped out, clearly security. Right behind them, a tall, tense-looking man in his 40s approached the entrance. It was Noah, Daniel's father. The billionaire everyone at the clinic had been whispering about for days. Audrey stood frozen in the lobby as the security team flung the doors open for him. The chief physician, a short, slightly pudgy man, hurried forward with a nervous smile plastered on his face. "Noah. What brings you here so early? I assure you, your son is doing well." But the billionaire brushed past him without a word and strode toward the elevator. "Room 7, he told his security team, clearly already knowing something was wrong. Audrey didn't hesitate, she followed them. Her heart was pounding again. The truth was about to come out. She wasn't worried for herself, her only concern was protecting the child. When they reached the floor, the same ICU doctor was already lingering outside room 7, pacing nervously. As soon as he saw Noah, he stiffened and forced a weak smile onto his face. "Good morning, Noah. I was just about to check on your son." The billionaire gave him a cold look but said nothing. He simply walked into the room. Inside, the morning shift nurse was standing by, surprised by the sudden flood of higher-ups and important visitors. "Dad," came a weak voice from the bed. "Danny, my boy." Noah was at his side in 2 strides, gently touching the boy's forehead. "How are you feeling?" "I'm okay, Dad," the boy whispered. "I'm just really thirsty." "I've got you, sweetheart. We'll fix that right away." Noah squeezed his son's hand, then turned sharply to the medical staff. "Who's responsible for his treatment? Why is he asking for water? What's going on with the 4? The chief physician, barely keeping up, pushed his way forward. "We'll get to the bottom of this," he said quickly. Audrey stood quietly in the back, but then she stepped forward, gathering her courage. "May I explain, Mr. Noah?" He turned a stern gaze on her. "And who are you?" "Orderly. Audrey Lane. I was on duty with your son last night." The billionaire raised his eyebrows in surprise but gave a nod. "Go on. She could hardly believe this powerful man was actually willing to listen to her, but now there was no turning back. The room fell silent, all eyes on her. Audrey's knees were trembling, but her voice came out steady. "Last night, I noticed something strange with Danny's condition. It seemed like the 4 wasn't helping, it was making him worse. So I temporarily stopped the infusion, and he started to improve. This morning, I realized the previous 4 bags may have contained something they shouldn't have." The morning nurse gasped and glanced at the ICU doctor, as if just now realizing what had been going on. "What?" the chief physician barked, turning red. "Have you lost your mind? An orderly interfering with treatment?" Noah shot the doctor an irritated look. "Be quiet," he snapped, then turned back to Audrey. "Do you understand how serious your claim is?" Audrey nodded, feeling her face flush with heat. "Yes. That's why I kept the 4 bag I removed last night. It can be tested." "This is outrageous," the chief physician shouted. "You're fired, immediately." But Noah raised a hand, silencing him. "Did you save my son?" he asked Audrey directly, looking her in the eyes. Audrey hesitated. "I'm not sure. But I truly hope I stopped something terrible." A pause filled the room, tension thick in the air. The ICU doctor stood pale and motionless. Then a quiet voice called from the bed. "Dad." Noah immediately turned back to his son. "Yes, buddy, I'm right here." The boy looked over at Audrey and nodded toward her. "She told me a bedtime story last night. It made me feel better." Audrey blushed. It was true, she had quietly whispered a story to soothe him as he fell asleep, gently stroking his hand. Noah glanced at her, a strange expression in his eyes. Then, to everyone's surprise, he smiled at his son. "Did she? Well, sounds like some wonderful lady's work here." The chief physician opened his mouth, stunned, clearly not believing what he was hearing. Noah had gone from fury to something far softer. Seizing the moment, Noah turned sharply to his security team. "Take that bag," he said, pointing to the cabinet where the hidden 4 container peeked out. "And take him too," he added, nodding at the pale ICU doctor. The security team moved instantly. 2 men in black grabbed the doctor by the arms. He started mumbling something about a misunderstanding, but they quickly escorted him out of the room. A 3rd guard carefully retrieved the 4 bag with the suspicious liquid and carried it away. The chief physician threw up his hands. "Noah, I assure you, this is all some kind of misunderstanding. Our staff." "Your staff nearly killed my son," the billionaire said coldly. "You can sort it out later. Right now, everyone out." He swept the room with a stern glare, pausing only when his eyes landed on Audrey. "Except you," he added. Once the room emptied and only the father, son, and the now embarrassed orderly remained, Noah let out a deep breath, as if shedding the mask of authority. His usually firm voice softened with genuine gratitude. "You knew turning off that 4 could cost you your job, didn't you?" "I did," Audrey answered quietly. "Then why did you do it?" She looked over at the boy, who had dozed off again, comforted by his father's presence. "I have a son around the same age," she said softly. "I couldn't stand by and let something happen to yours if there was anything I could do to stop it." Noah nodded slowly, clearly taking in her words. Then he said seriously, "I have a feeling you saved my son. There's no report yet, no official statement, but I see how he's breathing, how he's resting, and I believe it's because of you." Audrey lowered her eyes, blinking back tears. His words were simple, but they meant everything. He wasn't making promises or giving orders, just speaking like a human being. And that was enough. "Thank you, Audrey. And when it turns out you were right, I'll be back. And not just with words." She went home with a tired head and a light heart, not knowing what the next day would bring. In the morning, when Audrey returned to the clinic, she didn't even make it to the locker room. The chief physician was already waiting for her in the lobby. "Audrey," he called out sternly. But this time, there was something different in his voice: respect. "Come with me for a moment." Inside his office, he got straight to the point. "We got the lab results back overnight. You were right. The 4 contained a foreign substance, something that could be harmful, especially with a weakened immune system. We've already launched a full investigation." He paused and, for the first time, looked at her directly, without condescension. "I was wrong. Yesterday, I thought you overstepped. But today, I understand, you saved a child's life." He pulled a few documents from his desk drawer. "This is your promotion to nurse. It's already signed. And there's a bonus too, a personal thank you from me." Audrey could barely speak. "Thank you. I don't even know what to say." "Say you accept it," he said gently. "And that you'll stay just the way you are. Because we need more people like you in medicine." An hour later, Noah arrived at the clinic. He found Audrey in the staff room. "Audrey," he said quietly, "I wanted to thank you in person. As you've probably heard, everything was confirmed. The 4 was tampered with. The doctor involved was a plant. We know who sent him: competitors. People who clearly don't know how to lose." He paused, as if debating whether to say more. "The authorities are handling it now. They'll face justice. But you..." He stepped closer and pulled a plain brown envelope from his jacket. "I don't know what you might need right now, but I couldn't come empty-handed. This is from me." Audrey accepted the envelope slowly, still in shock. "Thank you. I really don't know how to respond." "You don't have to," he said with a nod. "Just take it. You did what was right. And that, believe me, is rare these days." News of what happened spread quickly through the clinic. Colleagues came by with heartfelt words of support and gratitude. After her shift, when Audrey stepped outside that day, she wasn't thinking about promotions or bonuses. She just knew she had done what was right, and felt, for the first time in a long while, like she was exactly where she belonged. One night. One decision. And a life saved. If this story touched you, share it with someone you care about. Let it remind us all how important it is to stay human, kind, compassionate, and grateful. Like and subscribe so you don't miss the next story. And drop a comment letting us